Hello everyone, I hope you can see me and also hear. It seems that stream is live. Okay, I'm Andrew Tropin. Today we are going to play with Guix operating system. For people who are not familiar with it, it's mostly GNU Linux distribution because in most cases it uses libera Linux kernel, but it also has optional and experimental support for GNU Herd kernel. The idea behind this distribution is functional package managers. The original idea was implemented by Nix package manager, and NixOS is a Linux distribution based on this package manager. Guix made the same thing. They took the Nix daemon and re-implemented the front end for it, and now they trying to get rid of C++ code and rewrite even Nix daemon in GNU Guix. GNU Guix is scheme dialect, which is a language of a Lisp family, and the cool thing about the whole operating system that you can describe the whole operating system with configuration file or program. It may look like a configuration file, but in reality it's just a program that will be evaluated, and from this program the operating system will be built and installed or switched on your disk drive. And before installing operating system, I decided to get LiveUSB image, but original official LiveUSB image doesn't have any window managers or any graphical environment. It has installer, which is text-based, and it may work for you, but I decided that I will spend some time during installation tweaking some things, and I need a more pleasant environment to work with. That is why I decided to build ISO for my LiveUSB myself. And here you can see the whole definition of the ISO image, and it's pretty simple. It's just definition of operating system record, which inherited from original image of operating system for LiveUSB, and few tweaks are made. I changed keyboard layout to Dvorak variant because I prefer Dvorak to QWERTY layout. I also mentioned a little more packages than original LiveUSB have. Those packages mostly oriented for working in Wayland environment natively. It's Chromium, Alacrity Terminal, Wofi, which is analog for Rofi, but working natively in Wayland, and it's also a substitution for the menu, which doesn't work natively and uses X-Wayland. Also, I specified Sway window manager and a few programs to work with the configuration. It's Git to obtain configurations from some remote repository and maybe commit some changes. GNU PG. Actually, we won't be using GNU PG right now, but it may be useful in case you want to get something from remote server where you have only SSH access and you have GPG managing your SSH keys. In that case, GNU PG will be very useful. Actually, I have gparted here, but I don't use it. I don't know why I placed it here. It also doesn't work in Wayland, I suppose. And the text editor, Emacs with pure GTK support, which works natively on Wayland. And few packages that I also won't be using right now, but maybe it can be useful in case you're playing with Guix for a little bit longer in live environment. And also a few fonts to make something readable. Yep, that's pretty much it. In addition to that, I had to make few binaries set uided to make it possible to run sudo from guest account. Original operating system image contains root and guest accounts without password, and you can in original LiveUSB you can log in only with root, but here you can see that I defined another service for TTI 8 to be able to log in with any user here, because all other TTIs below 8 occupied with documentation, installer, and after login root shells. And also I had to specify login D service to make able to run Sway. Yep, and that's all about installation OS image that I used. And to build it, actually I wrote a simple command in makefile. This command. I use exact version of channels to be sure that I won't pull any new updates which won't work with my system or something like that. And also I specify a load path. I set it to current directory to be able to reference some files from my image definition. For example, here, in my image definition, I reference RDE Emacs packages, which is packages for Emacs I define. Actually, I don't use them, but in case you are building more advanced live CD image, you will want to split your configuration in few namespaces, and it will be useful. But for now, it's just for experiment that I'm able to reference other namespaces from my own channel. Okay, let's go back to the command from makefile for building ISO. Here I just say that I need a disk image in ISO format, and I specify the path to the definition of operating system record, as you saw here. This namespace returns installation OS, and it makes possible to specify just a name of file to run the command you've seen earlier. I just specify the file which returns image of operating system, and it builds image of this operating system. And after that, I need to write this image to some USB drive, for example. It's done pretty easily, but I wrote a script in case someone will want to use it. It just takes two arguments. First one is image itself. After building image, you will see the last line will be the path to the resulting result of the build, and it will be ISO image. You specify it as a first parameter here in the script, And as a second parameter, you specify your device, not the partition of the device, but the whole device. And you have to be sure that all data backed up from your USB stick or other storage that you will be using for copying ISO image to it. Actually, I already have Chromium installed in this live CD. Probably, Thomas, you saw the definition of desktop, or not desktop, sorry, of install SCM. And here I have an ungoogled Chromium Wayland. And actually I can just open Wofi and type Chromium. Oops. And yep, it should work pretty good. For example, let's open Guix GNU.org. Yep, works pretty well natively without any problems. I have 1.5 scaling. That is why it can be a little blurry, because we don't have fractional pixels, but it helps not to resize anything, but still readable. Okay, and also another nice feature that sudo is also working. I can log in from my guest. The reason why I don't want to use root, because you can't start Sway as a root user, and you have a basic user to start it. That is why on 8th TTI I have a login prompt, and I can log in with guest account without password and type Sway, and it will start Sway. The problem with Sway is that it will use QWERTY layout by default, but I have a repository with configuration for Sway that changes the layout, and I just symlinked it to my home directory and restarted with hotkey. Actually, here I tried to build operating system, but it failed with an error. It doesn't look like an EFI, blah blah blah. Partition. Okay, I just didn't mount EFI partition. Mount def nv me. I will run this process in background. It should be boot EFI, because it takes some time, and I hope by the end of the stream we will get to this step of just calling one command to install the whole operating system. Okay, we booted in our live CD. Before that we wrote our resulting ISO image to USB stick and booted from it. Now we have only TTIs, and we switched to 8 TTI with Ctrl-Alt-F8 and logged with guest with empty password and typed Sway, and it launched a window manager. After that, first thing that I did, I created a work directory, and inside this work directory I called git clone https github abcdw rde, and it copied my repository with some configurations to work directory, and it already exists here. And let's take a look what is here. And here you can find rd directory. Some useful scripts are inside scripts directory, and almost all of the commands that I've used during installation I wrote into install sh file. And you can find that first thing that I've done, created work directory, clone the repository, and set Git username and email to be able to commit some changes back to my repository. And after that, I symlinked a few files to home directory to be able to have my own configurations instead of stock one, which necessary only for Sway to set the layout and for Alacrity to make it not so dark. By default, when you get this image, you won't have any configurations in home directory of guest. But later, maybe I will update the code which generates image, and it will contain the configuration inside home directory of guest. But for now, I just decided to make in place changes and to just symlink my configurations from the repository. Okay, after you've set up the environment, before cloning repository, you obviously have to have the internet connection. The easiest way to use Ethernet or your phone, because with phone you can connect to any network and to share this network with your laptop. And your laptop will automatically detect USB 0 device if you enable the tethering inside your phone. And if you won't get IP address automatically, you can launch -client with this command, and you will get the IP address, and all routing will be set up automatically, and you will be able to access internet. Okay, after you access the internet, get your all configuration and set up the nice and pretty environment that suits you, you can continue and start creating configuration for your new operating system. And the first step is to make a proper partitioning of your SSD or hard drive, and after that write some configuration file and save information about those partitions in this configuration file, and run the command for installing your operating system. Okay, to take example of basic configuration, you can look at etc configuration and take one of those examples. I took desktop SCM and I copied it to RD system desktop SCM and already changed it a little, but original one looks pretty simple. It contains information about hostname, time zone, locale, keyboard layout, bootloader. I use YEFI bootloader, but if you don't have YEFI and you use something else, BIOS or anything else, you can go to manual. You can access manual from emacs, and here you can open Guix manual right here, and here you can find installation instruction, system installation section, and everything about installation. Not everything, but some information about installation process is presented here. The main points is hardware considerations. Because Guix doesn't use any proprietary software, you won't be able to use, for example, Intel Wi-Fi or NVIDIA cards or something else that requires some proprietary firmwares or some blobs in the kernel or something else. It won't work. There are some options like how you can install additional software to Guix. For example, you can use channels mechanism and specify a separate channel which contains software not packaged in official Guix repository, and you can use it from here. And as you saw previously, in my make file, I use the command which specifies -c argument, which accepts channels file, and this channel file contains definition of channels that I will be using. Right now here it's only Guix with exact revision, but you can place few other channels here, and everything from these channels, all the package definitions will be available for your Guix command. And that means that you can install software missing in official Guix repositories using those channels. Okay, going back to manual. In addition to that, manual available online in help section of GNU Guix site. I prefer to have the whole manual on one page. And here you can find absolutely the same system installation section, which contains all the same information that is present in info page. Hi Gleb. Okay, we prepared to have every necessary software in our LiveUSB image, and we are going to partition our SSD or hard drive. I prefer manual installation to guided graphical installation because it's more control over the process, and you know what's happening under the hood. And for guided installation, it hides some details that you probably have to know, but you will miss them if you do guided installation. But you can use it if you want a simpler approach to install this operating system. And first of all, it says about configuring network, blah blah blah, and setting up proper layout. And after that, disk partitioning. I have my disk already partitioned, but most important points in this installation process will be a partition for EFI. In most cases, it already exists, but if it doesn't exist, you need FAT vfat file system on this partition. You can find a lot of different guides, but it's pretty simple to create partition with FAT file system. And you need another file system which will be encrypted, and on this partition we will create file system which will contain all the necessary data for us. And it's more interesting than creating a simple FAT partition. And going back to install SCMs. Oh no, not this one. Oh, 1 second. Install sh file. You can see that I do a lot of partitioning here. But first thing that you want to do is creating encrypted partition. You just allocate some space with any tool that you want, Parted or CFDisk or any other tool. And after that, you need to issue a crypt setup lux format command, which will make encrypted partition, which will be used for other operations, like this lux format and your partition. It will ask you if you really want to erase all the data on this partition, and after that it will ask for password 2 times, and after that it will format this partition and make it encrypted. After that you need to make lux open operation, which will create a device in def mapper directory, which will be called as you write here as a parameter. And if we take a look at def mapper, you will see here enc device that you can operate the same as you operate on any other partition, but in addition to your operations, you will have a transparent encryption of this partition, and after you unmount this enc device, nobody will be able to read the data from it until it gets a key, which is very good in case of in any case, but in case of laptops it's especially important, because if you lost your laptop and your hard drive not encrypted, someone can steal your data. And after that, as I said, you can operate on this partition as a basic drive. And first of all, we need to create file system. I will use btrfs. I made a previous stream about stateless OS and said while it can be useful to have some file system that have snapshot capabilities, and btrfs has those capabilities, and that is why I decided to go with it. And we just want to format our new created encrypted partition with btrfs, and after this command you will have btr file system on your encrypted device, and after that you can mount this device to mnt directory, and you already actually, if you don't want to do something similar to erase your darlings article or to stateless OS stream, you can use any other file system like ext, and don't create subvolumes or anything like snapshots. Just use one partition for your root and it will be enough, and one for EFI, of course. But for our case, in the future, we want to play with removing the state of operating system. That is why we will need snapshots capabilities, and that is why we need subvolumes to make some data persistent and some data erased on every boot. That is why, after creating file system on our device and mounting it to MNT, we need to create few subvolumes, and also to create a snapshot of root file system, which will be blank. And in the future, we will be erasing our root with this blank snapshot to remove all the state and to be sure that there is no state that we are not aware of. After we created all those subvolumes, we need to unmount MNT, and we need to mount a subvolume as our MNT, and on this subvolume create few directories and mount all other subvolumes to those subdirectories. Why we need all those subvolumes? Home, we are sure don't want to erase everything from home. We are sure that we don't want to erase boot on every reboot, and we are sure that we don't want to erase our GNU store, which contains all the files that we use for our operating system. The data will have our explicit state. We won't use it right now, but sometime in the future I hope we will. And log will store all the logs created during operation of services and other programs. And obviously empty snapshot will be used to erase our root file system. And it's important step because we mounted not our def mapper inc here, but a subvolume of it. Because if you mount your root as your root of btrfs, you won't be able to make a snapshot of it and later use it. That is why you always have to mount subvolume of btrfs if you want to use snapshot capabilities and subvolumes capabilities. Okay, after we mounted all that stuff, we need to run Heart, a service with Heart. Actually, Heart is utility for managing services in Shepherd, and we need to run co-store service, which will make your store appear in your MNT directory instead of using your RAM. Because during building the operating system, it can consume a lot of memory, and if it doesn't use disk, it can you can get out of memory if you don't have enough memory on your laptop or desktop, for example. After that, we take some example configuration, and I already did. After that, after we took some example configuration, just pick one that you like more. There are 4 sample configurations, and edit according to your needs. I didn't change those lines because they are not important yet, but I updated keyboard layout. It's already uses grab Yefi bootloader, and it's what I want. And it had some example of actually I can open side by side. No. Yep. 1 second. Okay, I can open them side by side to see the difference. Configuration, desktop. Original file on the right, the modified file on the left. Original file has example of mapped devices, and here we have to specify UUID of our encrypted partition, and I specified it here. To get it, you need to use sh. You need to use crypt setup lux UUID command, and let's run this command. Obviously, you have to have super user access, and it shows UUID of my partition, and I specified it right here, and target will be ENC as it was during our installation. It's shorthand for encrypted. And after that, we can say that our file systems depends on mapped device. And here I say how to mount this encrypted device, I mean already unencrypted device, to our actual file system. And here you see mount point, type of file system, and some additional options. And in those options I can specify subvolumes, and doing this operation for all necessary directories and subvolumes that I want to mount. It's all the same subvolumes that we created previously. And after that, you need to specify a mount point for your EFI partition, which will contain something that will be run by your UEFI to make you able to load grab bootloader. And probably I missed the step about mounting boot EFI and mount your EFI partition mnt boot EFI. Yep, now it's complete. Let's switch back to our definition of file systems. After that, after you defined all your file systems, here you can see that the last file system has a little different notation for device, and it says UUID in FAT32 format. You can obtain this UUID with blkid comment, and you can see that it has a little different format from normal UUID, and that is why we need to specify FAT32 format here. But after you specified all file systems, you also have to specify users that you want to present in your system, and groups, which in most cases audio, video, and will for sudo, and base user accounts for your building daemon and other stuff, and packages that you want to be in your system. But later we'll do package installation a little differently for each user to make the configuration a little more usable in case you want to manage your packages on a different operating system with Guix package manager, for example, or you want just make your user packages separated from system packages, or in any other case you may want to have them installed separately. And after you specified all the necessary packages that have to be in your system by default, you need to set services that you want to be in your system, and I didn't change anything here. It just enables a bunch of services defined in desktop services. You can find this variable in Guix source code and see all the services in it, or you can use a REPL or any other tool to get the value of this variable during evaluation. For example, in my installation image, I have a debug print which shows all the services which will be in my installation operating system record. Okay, we specified all the services. Actually, we used default desktop services. Maybe in the future, I mean for sure in the future, we will change the list of the services that we need. But for now, it's okay. We just need to boot our system and be able to log in. After we specified all necessary stuff, we are ready to go. We need to launch only one command, Guix system init specify the file that will have the system definition, and specify the root of this system. The directory should contain a partition mounted, all partitions mounted to it. Yep, and we just launch this command and getting our operating system installed. I don't know how much time it will take right now, because I already launched this command, and it should be pretty fast to go, but it can take some time, maybe a minute or few. The idea about splitting your system packages and user packages is following. You have very minimalistic system that contains all necessary packages, for example, drivers, or some system packages like sudo or anything else, and all other stuff is managed by user. It make it possible to, in Guix you can actually install software without root privileges, because you don't install it in the system, you install it in the store, and you create a symlink to the store using a profile concept. Profile is basically a directory which contains links to all necessary binaries and other files that have to be installed in your environment. And every user can use those profiles to manage the environments for themselves without asking administrative privileges. That means if you have some server which used by a few different people, they can install software by themselves, and the software won't conflict with any other software, because it won't be available only in the user profile, and won't interfere with others users. And it's cool feature that can help for people who are using some big servers, for example. And also, okay, it's already finished installing. We can try to reboot. I don't know if it works or not, but I hope it works. We can reboot the system. I don't know if you will be able to see everything that is going on my screen of my laptop. Probably you won't see it, but it asked for my password. Let me try to. Now you probably can see what happens here, but it asked for my password and I entered it. Probably it launched only a small part of the grab, which can decrypt the device. And right now it decrypted the device and mounted everything which I specified in file systems. And now I can see the grab bootloader, and I can pick a kernel, only one kernel for now, but I can't show for some reason it to external monitor. That is why I will just boot the operating system, and I got a scheme prompt. Interesting. Can I share it? No, it doesn't show it. It shows that device doesn't exist or access denied, which is not cool. I will take a picture of it. The cool thing that now I can play with scheme REPL, but the bad side of everything is that I can't get a working system right now, and I don't actually know why, because I think I specified everything that I wanted in configuration file, and it should boot. According to user experience, probably you heard about my talk about Nix and Guix comparison. There are two important steps during installation that I think is more superior in Nix rather than Guix. It's you getting your live CD with graphical environment, which is pretty handy because it's easier for your eyes. It's easier to use browser or something like partition tool, graphical partition tool, or something like that. And also step where I used example configuration, just copied it and tried to modify it. Nix has a special script which generates a simple definition of operating system for you, and you don't need to specify all the file systems that you mounted and so on. And it's improve user experience a lot, I think. As you saw, it's relatively easy to build a custom ISO. I loaded to this custom image and it shows me the installer, Curses installer, to different TTI and have the documentation available here. TTI is for logging in automatically with root shell, and TTI for loading for login with any other account. Oop, I will log in with guest without password. I will set the brightness of my laptop screen and I will run Sway again. Okay, it's almost all about the installation process. It's for now it's easier in Nix, but it is possible to install it with Guix, and I won't be disturbing you for more time, and we'll go and debug my configuration to make it completely working. It's already creates all necessary stuff. It's already boots, but probably I failed somewhere in file systems, and it can't mount something. Yep, thanks a lot for your attention. See you soon.